It's always good to start the program with chewing and snacking. I promise.
I think
Not
that's
good.
the only reason people tune in. They're
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, it's great. They just sit around and eat.
He plugged it in to show his mother when we were up there, and he fixed the one where there's a big bag of popcorn that
Oh.
day. She was like horrified. It's like, all she could hear was the chewing and.
Popcorn satsang.
That was a giant bag of popcorn. It was like all we did the whole time.
Oh, that
With
big,
coconut
Buddha-
oil.
Buddha popcorn, right?
Yeah.
That was good popcorn.
I can imagine that one didn't sound that great.
Yeah.
Oh,
well.
It's enough to cut out many, many groups of people. that
You
are like,
can't hit them all out of the park, you know.
Well, it's a good, gauge of interest. If you can't handle chewing, then you
Yeah.
might as well just leave now.
Yeah,
anyway.
what are you in this for? If you think you're gonna wake up by facing a wall,
Yeah.
not happening. Chewing, your chances are much improved.
Here, listen to the CD. It's 2 hours of chewing.
Really.
See how you
It's a
feel.
Great CD.
Yeah. If you can make it through that, you're good.
Yeah.
I know. I always get like when I go to the movie theater, there's so much crackling and eating. It's like it really drives me a little nuts.
Hmm.
Unless I'm eating and crackling.
And it's good. Yeah. You can get a sense of the frustration or the impossibility of coming from a vantage point of inhabitation and trying to get a bead on, freedom from inhabitation. That's why, the message could be spoken over and over and over, and over again by numerous personalities of, either gender, and age, persuasion, and ethnicity, and all that stuff.
You know what I'm talking about crackling?
Oh, yes, more snacks. We almost starved to death.
I think we should serve cocktail franks.
No, thanks.
These
I
are so
kind of
cute.
overdosed on Christmas cookies.
These
Yeah.
little ones are the perfect size, these little guys.
Oh, perfect size?
Oh, yeah, no joke.
What are they? They're just perfect. Oh, that one looks awfully nice. Thanks.
Now I need something to even out my blood sugar level as I eat the sugar, like
Yeah, like what? Some insulin?
Throw some salt in your teeth.
Yeah, I need some popcorn in one hand.
You can't even get out any cogent introductory remarks
No.
around here without being interrupted by snacks or food. No,
I have no memory of what you said. It's something.
I vaguely remembered. I think we can do it
Talk
again.
about, like, all the-
Yeah, I got it. Don't worry.
You got it.
I got this. Yeah.
Sorry. Elmer.
Hot
Hunting for
rabbits.
rabbits. Oh, that's just looking at you like, I love him so much. I don't know why, but I do.
It's nice that you're thinking that.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, she's got you.
Because that's not what you were thinking.
She's got you snowed, eh?
Oh, boy. Yeah.
You're like, take that hat off. What the hell?
That's good.
Yeah.
Good alibi.
Yeah. No, I'm not
Good thought
thinking,
there.
why is he
Really?
wearing that hat?
Really. She's thinking 1 year down,
I wasn't here to-
one to go.
Well, the hat is hidden nicely.
Yeah, she tried to hide this hat under like a pile of stuff, but I
I
sniffed it out, like a dog in its toy.
I see now.
Oh, let's
She
see.
was thinking of ways that she could. She's like, where else could I put that hat? That
Oh,
you would-"
no, I mean,
Yeah.
There has to be somewhere
2 years ago.
to
I
get
did
rid of that
that.
hat.
I think we're going to use it as kindling for the next fire. Sure got a nice fire there. Hey, is that my hat? Fuck.
We're so far afield from whatever the hell you started with today.
Yeah, no, we can come back. I have a kayak and really good kayak blades to navigate these rapids back to the etheric nature of the primacy of being.
I never knew what it would look like when Elmer Fudd were kayaking, but now
Now you know,
we got that down.
yeah. Hunting rabbits, that's an easy one, but kayaking,
I need rabbits.
that's something else. So you see all of these sincere, inspired presentations, from persons or presenters that draw attention to, I don't know, what do you want to call it tonight? Enlightenment or something like that. I mean, this gal, Ella May, was referring to it as non-duality, right?
I think so.
Yeah, so
Oh, her topics is non-duality.
so we typically dwell or abide under a profound hypnotic influence, or hypnotic suggestion, and we don't even really know how to begin to elucidate the nature of the hypnotic suggestion we dwell under until something, someone, or some experience calls it so profoundly into question that we're forced to struggle with a new vocabulary, to consider a view, however brief, that you have to have, however brief, of this is not what I thought it was. Now, that can be through an injury, a tragedy, a loss, a drug, right? Organic spiritual encounter, meetings with, remarkable persons. Thankfully, we won't find any here. And so you become inspired to consider a bizarre possibility, a bizarre way of being or feeling yourself that is somehow delightfully or intimidatingly antithetical to your default hypnosis. Now, most folks, were there any, never in a lifetime even consider or contemplate or are confronted with even the most remote possibility that there's something other than or outside their default way of being. No clue, not interested. Obviously, we're swarmed if we, sip from that fountain with, let's just call it, non-dual resources that are greater than we could possibly imbibe in a lifetime. And yet, even though we can see, the tsunami of possible teachers and places and teachings and exercises and practices and conversations and meetings and mystery schools that we could possibly go to, most people, they don't even know this world exists, that this subculture exists at all, even though they may have heard of the Buddha, they may have heard of Christ, they may have heard of whomever, historical persons whose teachings or Gnostic teachings lay a rather explicit, not shy, conduit for something, right, beyond the default operating consciousness. Okay. so-and-so either speaks slowly, eloquently, methodically, or in enthusiastic tones, or in, excited monologue about the self or selfing or radiant presence or the default mode network, or, all of the monikers that are used, the FSA. We could go on and on, right? All the absolute consciousness, you
Jim
could-
gets excited about something.
yeah, you could go on and on about all the ways that various persons, dead and alive, have done their best to offer something of themselves, something of the nature of a transcendent being that they may have discovered. And then you look at the general content or context for much of the questioning that occurs in these kinds of interfaces. And much of the questioning is really, you could boil it down to, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Even though it may sound sincere and cogent and in the groove with the so-called presentation, underneath it all, because it's coming from a default hypnosis, what's really being said is, sounds fucking great. I'm glad you're there. I'm glad I'm here, maybe, but I still don't know what it is, what the fuck it is you're talking about. I mean, look anywhere. I mean, you can look at a Bentigno retreat or an Adyashanti retreat or recordings from any number of, masters of the craft. And you're not going to get all that much from the questioner, because that banter is so familiar, so predictable, that we're looking at a kind of a force field, an elephant in the room kind of force field, where here's a human being, let's say even in our proximity, if we of course, paid the money to go hang out with them, that might be espousing something that's abso-fucking-lutely remarkable. And if I don't get my fair share of that between now and the day I die, I will chalk this life up to absolute failure. Right? But this kind of strange force field seems to separate us from that which is being spoken about in enthusiastic, humorous, animated tones. That's the dilemma.
Well, and it seems to me that the people are inclined, I mean, of course, they frame it in the context that they already have. And so it's a lot of, well, do you mean yada, 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 or, well, I think I understand what you mean. You mean this, and you mean, I mean, it's a
Right.
lot of,
That's right.
you know,
Yeah.
Well, it's
So
the
that's
clunky.
It's a
Yes.
basic underlying kind of thing, it seems like, of, I mean, it goes back to kind of simile and metaphor. If you are an object and then there's another object and it's divided
Yeah.
back to two, and then you're going, I want,
yeah.
instead of saying, if you're saying like, I wonder what it would feel like to be a candle, then you're referentially in imagination, you're still this body,
Right.
trying to imagine what it would be like to be that candle,
Yes.
instead of saying I am that candle and then feeling myself as that candle. They're very different.
Yes.
It's one, the one's a thought process.
Yeah.
One's an imaginary, abstraction,
So-
and it's divided.
There are three kinds of banter, in a given meeting. One kind is, tell me all about your enlightened self so I can kind of place your experience in context of my experience. That's one thing.
Yeah.
Tell me about the stage, right? What's your experience? The other one is letting the stage know what your experience is, and everybody else, right? You're letting people know what your experience is to see how you can calibrate yourself in relationship to something that perhaps is remarkable, right? And what's the third one? So it's about the sage, it's about me. Oh, or the third one is typically about a how-to.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So you can boil it all down to, tell me about yourself as the enlightened gal or guy. Let me tell you about myself as the aspiring and as yet unenlightened gal or guy. Or would you mind, can we get into the how-to?
It's all like relationship with an object, with another object.
Yes, that's right.
So then what's the,
Mm-hmm.
what's the,
That's the ultimate.
Yeah, yeah, which becomes another how-to. You see?
well, there's nothing then.
Yeah, there's pretty much nothing then.
So,
Yeah.
but it's gonna happen in any of those,
Yeah.
avenues.
Yeah. So the shock value is like the Asian woman that just giggled. Right. That's as good as an enlightened giggle as you'll ever hear. Yeah, right. So that giggle is telltale, because we're right approaching something that might very well be remarkable through the conditioned lens of our default mode, our default experience as a creature, as a person with history and mind and association, meaning and preference and prioritization, and the longing for being less neurotic. Yeah. And all we get is this, laugh,
Yeah.
right? Sheet laughter.
Yeah, I think there should be a new psychiatric diagnosis where you think your enlightened master is laughing at you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Everywhere I turn, I hear my enlightened master laughing at me. At the bank, at a stoplight. Right.
But it seems like the three modes that you're talking about, approaches or whatever, they're all trying too hard. It seems to me that there's a subtlety, there's a hanging back, and just the hanging back and hanging out that is more appropriate for the situation. That there's something that you get when you're not striving so hard.
Yeah.
To compare or to
Yes.
maneuver.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like we have an perhaps urgent, enviable, earnest, to use your Sagadatta's term, interest in something remarkable, which we've heard about, read about, seen videos about, felt most likely. So we easily get tripped up in, what would you we get tripped up by a discovery agenda. You see? We're in a discovery mode. Yeah. Right. And a discovery mode can't occur in, let's say, your experience without a discoverer.
Like chopping things up and putting labels on them is not an issue. That's just what this does.
Yeah.
It zooms in, zooms out. That's how you get focus, of any attention.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when it's about you in relation to something
Yep.
else that you've created a boundary field around, then it's like, oh boy.
That's right. Yeah. Gosh. And that's why, that laughter occurs, because call it the cathedral.
They're not laughing with you, they're laughing at you.
They are totally laughing at you. There's no question about it. Yeah, they are laughing at you. They're not nearly as compassionate as you might like to think. Fucking muggles make me laugh. Yeah. Yeah. So the discoverer, the sense of the discoverer, which is also the sufferer, right? And the seeker, right? This citadel is built of dreams. Yeah. If you really were interested, let's say from a scientific or adventurous point of view, philosophical point of view, spiritual point of view, to find out, if you could, what the discoverer, you as the discoverer, is made of, you won't be, you won't be able to find it. You will not be able to find what it is, what you as the discoverer are made of. It is so fucked up. And yet, we, right, embrace consciously, unconsciously, voluntarily, involuntarily, the vantage point, the locus of the discoverer in attempting to make a discovery, to rid ourselves of the banality of the discoverer.
You're not going anywhere in that loop.
You are not going anywhere. You're just not going anywhere. Yeah, it doesn't mean you're incapable of realization. No, that would be silly to say, because all this is realization. So the capability is built in. You're good to go. The trick is, the trick is not to be seduced out of habit or habituation by the presentation of the discoverer. Oh.
Sort of like
There
going
lies
back
the
to the
rub.
default.
That's the rub.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was the rub.
Mm-hmm. That's why the giggle, because we come to the sage's feet. Ooh, you know,
See, like little toddlers who are saying silly
Yeah.
funny things or something, you know.
and we come from the vantage point of either tell me about you, I'm going to tell you about me,
Yeah.
or how to,
Yeah.
right? And any of those, all three of those, are movements in aspiring consciousness of the discoverer. But that's why the giggle, because there is no discoverer. So there's nothing the sage can tell you about themselves. They certainly, nor does the rest of the audience, want to hear anything about you, because they're all interested in themselves, wisely so. And there's no how to. There can't be a how to, because the urgency that's felt on the part of the discoverer, having already discovered plenty to be disappointed about, cannot find themselves in cessation.
I mean, I would think that it would feel uncomfortable. They would feel like they're suspended with and there's no ground below them.
This is what we're playing with.
And we've seen people that get very uptight and fearful. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is
Yeah.
one reaction.
If you don't scare one person a week, you're not doing your job. Some one a day, you know,
I mean, usually they'll just blow it off because that's a lot easier to deal with than
much easier.
facing that fear.
No, you don't want to. Nobody wants. The discoverer does not want to face the music. The discoverer wants to ask you about you, tell you about them, or ask how to.
But sometimes you see that there's a sense of it, and it brings a fear.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
And to me, that's sort of a good sign. You know, it brings a fear. It's like, oh, they're getting something going on here.
Well,
It's maybe
yeah, I mean,
pushing a little too hard or something.
your observations of others are always cogent and useless.
Really, totally useless.
They're totally useless.
Well, it's that same. I mean, it's
I
back
mean,
to
they're
that-
fun. They pass the time. You know, we can sip beer and talk about
it's
and
back to
should
that,
gossip about everybody, but
like funny simile thing of like trying to imagine what might it feel like to be Jeff, as if there's definitely two people. You know what I mean? Instead of feeling
it
that
sucks.
you are everybody.
Yeah.
The unicity is a different felt. I don't know. What
Yeah.
I'm trying to say here.
I mean, you can't.
Yeah.
I don't, and may never claim anything about some condition here. I don't have a condition. you know, or the default condition I have is the same condition you have. This sucks. I'm bored. I'm trying to figure out how to
I get more snacks.
optimize my dopamine. You know. Yeah. Don't be looking in this direction for something that you think you want. That would be a big mistake. I mean, you do that with, you know, Peter Brown or someone that's realized, but don't do that here. That would be a big mistake. Yeah.
But yeah, anytime you say anything about another person, it's all imagination about what you
To
just totally.
There was one guy on the Peter Brown thing in December, the British guy. What's that?
The Peter Brown Show?
Peter Brown show.
mhm.
They have like dancers and
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Warm up.
I would tune in more if they dance.
There was a guy.
the British guy. He was like sort of talking about something about how he just realized there was all this fear before, and you know, he just seemed like he was. I liked listening to him. Usually, like you know, I just like hate people. But anyway,
There's some charming people out there once in a while.
and but it definitely sort of evoked, you know, like a certain, you know, envy. You know.
Well, sure. Any sign of progress
Yeah.
that you haven't had yet
Yeah.
is going to, right,
Yeah.
solicit illicit envy.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, see, that's the discoverer
Yeah.
trying to make a discovery.
Mhm.
And what does the discoverer find? Either some kind of prideful self-reference, which is called progress,
Or someone else's things, yeah.
or disdain about someone else's progress, which is also called progress. Oh boy.
Along those lines.
We'll just go exactly along those lines.
Yeah, I guess I keep on looking for something to like
Hang your hat.
hang my hat on, mark my progress or lack there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And intellectually or whatever, I sort of get that can't be done, but on the other hand, so I had an interesting experience. Was it today, I think? And
We're not laughing.
Might have been
I'm
today.
laughing with
the
you.
whole thing. You know,
What the hell do I know
it's
what
like
day
my
it was?
reference for time has seemed to gotten squirrely in a big way, and it's a little scary,
Mm.
a little freeing, and also kind of like it's either early Alzheimer's, you know, some illness I'm getting over, flu I'm getting over. I don't know. You know, I'm not going to point at anything to say what it
Yeah.
is or isn't.
Mhm.
But
Your water
I'm
filter.
having a conversation with somebody, and it's around work, and I said, "Oh yeah, we have to deal with that apartment and those people that live at that apartment." And they happen to be Indian folks that lived at this apartment.
Mhm.
And and the person on the other line of the phone corrects me and says,
What are
"Oh,
they doing?
no,
Sweat lodges in the living room?
6 months ago, those people moved out and a new person moved in." But like my frame of time and reference, and it was almost like I was in a dream state of like thinking
Yeah.
that
Somebody's challenging your
hadn't
reality,
occurred.
right? I
Do you know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
They're challenging
can't-
your dream, right?
I can't describe. It was weird, and I thought, "Oh my God, my mind is officially going." And then, so that's why I'm really, really looking for some kind of an affirmation.
It's official now.
Because
Well, you know what the affirmation here today? I saw a car with 2 stickers, and it was awesome. One said Alzheimer's awareness, and the other sticker said "Keep Christ in Christmas." And I thought, if you get Alzheimer's, that's the best way to keep Christ in Christmas. You can't fight these two together. This is a losing battle. Alzheimer's equals Christ.
Yeah.
So here's
Sorry.
what you might notice from these, you know, cogent and lovely presentations. This shit is just dreaming you. It's just dreaming you in place. And we define ourselves. The discoverer figures out how to define him or herself, relying upon the radiant excitability of phenomenon, of conscious contact, of experience, of presentation. See, because presentation is occurring, it is very easy, easier than we dare imagine, to turn the irrefutability of presentation into objects, right? Phenomena, with moi as the intermediary.
That was sort of just it. Like, I wasn't the intermediary.
Rock on.
There was I had no point of reference for this particular like apartment,
Mhm.
and for a minute it like I don't know, there was something very strange about that whole experience, and I want to say that for a moment maybe I had kind
Take a
of
handful home.
had a lapse of reason or a lapse of myself, like maybe just for a moment I was sort of functioning without my usual gender mindset, usual
Mhm.
like
Mm-hmm.
craziness.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden I was like, what, where, who, you know, those people, what, you
Yeah.
know?
Yes.
And then boom, I was back into my construct of mind.
Yeah, I mean, no one can prove whether an event like that is some combination of liberation and or dissociation. you don't, you know,
I seem to be in a good mood and not agitated at the moment.
that's a good outcome.
But
Yeah.
something upsetting had, anyway, never mind.
Yeah, never mind is good. See how presently there's an engagement with living life, animation, sentience, sensation, sentiment, sensuality, right? Memory, thought, feeling. I mean, a profound field of a profound field. And once we go particular on the field, then you could say the energy of attention or the energy of awareness spontaneously anthropomorphizes as self, as the intermediary, because of, let's just call it focus, right?
Yeah, everything is in relation
Yeah,
to the meat puppet.
yeah, that's right. So, I mean, to really feel and kind of notice how conscious contact suggests or invites us into the slightest hint of specificity or locus, and that specificity and locus is the genesis of the intermediary, the sense of self. Way fucking strange. And what we call the body is not present at all without sensation being localized. So it's curious to notice or play around with the observation that sensation, localized spatially, suggests the boundary field of body. Otherwise, there is no body. The yoga then, dealing with that basic conundrum, right? There's the rub, right? Okay. It's useful, let's say, to articulate and play around with the words and phrases and concepts we're using so that we can, just for fun, articulate the rub. It doesn't make it true, but it's, right? It becomes another lily pad. Yeah. Then, appreciating the rub, one can relax from the habit of occupying one's present experience as a discoverer who's hell-bent on a discovery. You're not a or the discoverer. If anything is occurring, before we tell a story about it, it is, or comes down to, sensation. That's why we sometimes like to use the word, or perhaps frequently use the word, felt. Now, that sensation is not just what we would call physical sensation, because as we relax, the perimeter and the content of what we call body becomes diffuse. And yet sensation is still present. Experience or phenomena or conscious contact blossoms in you through sensation. If it's light, we call it the sense of seeing. If it's sound, we call it the sense of hearing, right? Contact with skin is touch. Wafting aroma is called smell. Nonpareils on the tongue is called taste or cocaine, right? Thought is, what the fuck is thought? I mean, really, we take it for granted, and then we get entangled with it or its implication. But you could say we don't spend all that much quality time wondering what the fuck it is, because we become drunk with its implication too quickly.
Well, this may be a little bit of recording. How foreign an idea for me. But I find the best opportunity, and I don't treat it as an opportunity, I just sort of fall into it.
Yes.
In the morning, I wake up. I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes wake up kind of.
Yeah.
Sort of in this alpha state.
Sure.
I'm aware that, presumably aware that there's a body. I'm more aware that I'm not focused on any particular sense.
Okay.
Or even a string of thought. It's
Nice.
more just the
Mm-hmm.
awareness.
Yeah.
This more or less alpha type awareness where
Yes.
you're just hanging out.
Would you refer to this, call it quieter awareness, non-specific awareness? Would you use the word felt or sensation? Or is it subtler than felt sensation?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say felt or sensation. Less sensation, maybe felt, but I would say more just an awareness of being, and
Yeah,
maybe awareness of light, even though my eyes are closed, but
sure.
there's still light that comes through.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, I mean, looking at, let's call it an arc of subtle to expressed, right? This awareness of awareness is, you could say, subtler than bodily sensation.
Yeah. Well,
It's
yeah.
not punctuated by anything appearing in the five senses.
And it's subtler than thought.
Yes,
Thought comes, it's like that freaking movie. It's like the train coming.
yes.
It's like, do I board the train? Or do I
Right.
just let it go?
And it's curious to recognize and, of course, articulate that this quality of awareness is also not punctuated by thought.
Or if it is, that quality of awareness suddenly.
Changes, sure, yeah, that's right. A diffuse awareness, which is not seduced into separative consciousness by virtue of sensation or thought or the implication of thought, is, I mean, I would take the risk to say kind of lovely.
Well, I think that's why I like naps so much.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, because I'm tired and I don't want to be tired. I feel tired. But number two, it's just this beautiful hangout.
Yeah. Right.
Because, there's a certain amount of time where you just sort of go in, it's this transition into sleep or and transition out.
Mm-hmm. So we're playing around with considering what we would call the symptoms that punctuate or color our experience. And we have a vocabulary which is far from perfect, but it's what we have, right? So we can make reference to the five senses, to thought, to attention, awareness, the sense of a discoverer making a discovery, psychological time, storytelling, right? We can paint a portrait of the nature of experience and nuanced observations of the nature of experience. That's a conversation that most folks don't have.
Right.
Yeah. And by doing so, you have to, or just organically, you find yourself sensitizing to a quality of reflection which is capable of dropping back or behind the implication of specificity, the implication of time, the implication of space, the implication of body, and hopefully the implication of how to. Now, if any one of us, enlightened folks, stands up and does sheet laughter, or reminds everyone that, there's no one here, there's never been anybody here, I mean, that's great news. Keep it to yourself.
I know, you feel, it's like, what, why?
Yeah, because
Make a whole thing.
because once you start
bio.
telling the great news, you end up with that, what the fuck are you talking about?
Well, I can't even remember if I can. I don't know. If there's no bridge, how could I remember? But I mean, I seem to remember having it do those moments myself. But
That's right. And well, and you should, and more to come. That's right. Yeah.
microseconds or something.
Microseconds are good, you know. Since there's no time and everything is entangled, a microsecond is as good as forever. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still have that quizzical kind of a feel when not that I do it, but when I've heard Katie Byron, Byron Katie, whatever,
Yeah.
do the turnaround thing. It's like, why are you doing the turnaround? I mean, you know, it's just this jumping off into
Yeah.
weirdness. I just don't
Well,
like
once
it.
once you engage someone's persona, you've engaged their history, right? You've engaged or stepped on the gas of the discoverer. And, you know, what you're going to end up with there are, you could say, a string of cathartic, you know, releases from either a specific or a number of, you know, so-called problems or mental grooves that are self-incarcerating, right? The challenge is to go underneath the, call it the event horizon of becoming a person, right? We have to play around with that.
You have to limbo under.
You have to limbo under it. Yeah, yeah, right. Because once you're the person, then you're overwhelmed instantaneously with story and history and sentiment and memory of all kinds, right? Memory of all kinds, not just thought memory, but, you know.
It seems like it can be squelched as a sort of muscle almost, but I mean,
Yeah, squelched.
What can we score?
well, not like, you know, but like
Yeah.
more of, you know, push it back down that way or something.
Which,
Well,
which one?
The story and
You're always,
Yeah.
if I can be glib,
yeah.
I've never stopped, never hesitated,
Nobody
nor will I
likes to
ever
say
stop.
that a lot. It
Yeah.
has to be glib.
To be glib, go forward. Meaning, go forward means feel this rather than do
Yeah.
anything about
Oh.
anything.
Oh.
You see, once you do something about something,
Well, I almost have to, but that's for psychological issues.
okay, yeah, right.
Well, you know, I
If you
will,
have a safe house for your psychological inertia, use it.
you know, I could
Uh-huh.
easily, it's happened so many times where I'm laying there sort of hanging out, enjoying it. And then this thing comes over me. It's like, shit, I have this job and I have the work and I have this whole, you know, feeling level. That person that has to do a task, that has to think about something. And that's this entity that just, boom, you know, now maybe I can let that go. And maybe there's some practice to, you know, put around that or something. I don't know. But that's a, you know, it may trap me in. Depends on my level of depth at that moment.
Yes, of course.
The whole doing thing, though, it's so inconceivable not
To
to do something, and even if it's just the most subtle of things.
Well, you see, both of these comments are, right, manufactured out of thin air that reinforce for you and perhaps someone that dares listen to you, the sense of the discoverer. Yeah, because you're placing yourself again in the temporal context as, you know, a thinking creature that has had some success doing something about something.
it doesn't come in joyfully though. Not at all.
Well, my invitation would be then to just lighten up on it.
How do you
Sure.
make it feel
Yeah.
like you're not doing it, but it's happening? It feels like it's doing.
Huh, like now.
It has tentacles. Sure has a grab to it.
Like now. You see, the end of the discoverer is this. It's now.
Well, like if what, you know, if there's like music, or if there's,
Music, if there's music, is not now.
no.
Though you
All
can
right,
turn
let's go
some
with the
on.
radiator.
Though you
Okay.
can turn some on. You see, you're placing yourself in a hypothetical context as a creature that's had prior experience.
Yeah,
that-
you
That's
usually-
what's really
yeah.
weird, like what you were talking about when you were talking about how weird thought is.
Yeah.
It really like struck me. I was just sitting there like, this shit's really weird. I'm talking to myself. I never speak any other language besides the one language I know. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's just
Yep.
bizarre. It's like I was taught some things and then I talk to myself silently or out loud.
I've been trying Ewok, but the only thing I know to ask is where's the bathroom in Ewok. And for Ewoks, it's pretty much just everywhere.
It's a very,
They just pee outdoors. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
it's
No,
a
it's
weird,
completely bananas.
really weird thing.
So that's what you want to get a taste of, is the recognition of how what's occurring as your present experience is fucking bananas. Because once you convert that into a what if or an if then
Mhm.
or some kind of, cogency, then you're just, you're filling yourself up with the myth of the discoverer. I'm not saying that's bad. It's not bad. It's just reflex.
Mhm.
So if there's a yoga which can respond to there's the rub, right? That yoga, that engagement would be right about here, right about now. See if anything is happening at all. That forces you or seduces you into the role of discoverer. And as we call it contemplate, the spaciousness of present experience, its non-specificity. It's, nourishing quiescence. Then you get a taste of what it feels like to be free from the implication of the discoverer. This simplicity makes no demands on you. It doesn't raise its hand and go, ooh, how to.
It's rather undefinable.
Yes.
I mean, this, whatever we call it, simplicity, this feeling tone, it seems like there's a mentality about it, but it's not like an active mentality. It's more of an awareness mentality.
Yes. That's right.
But how can you go any more definitive than that? I mean, I have no idea.
You needn't. I mean, it or this is communicating to you or itself. It's not withholding anything. You don't need to place it in a context as an intermediary. That's the discoverer, right? The frustration of the discoverer is this, let's call it sensate creation or sensate implication of being an intermediary. Yeah, which can be easily felt by us as this kind of insufficiency or malnourishment. Because the presence of the intermediary, in a sense, takes over our, call it functional consciousness. And then we're spinning in time, psychological time, as a body, a unit measure with a specific boundary and a volume. And the imagination of what has happened in our lives, what is happening presently, or what may, should, will, won't, can't, don't, won't in the future is suffering. So the discoverer is hoping to remain the discoverer without suffering. Ooh, how to? Yeah. But the sage, at least good ones, and apparently a handful of good ones, right? More than a handful, is saying, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. There's no discoverer. Cue Asian sheet laughter. So the gift that we have for each other or ourselves is the willingness, the curiosity that's required, yes, to just back off the myth of the discoverer. That's not a remedy for the discoverer.
It's very clever that way.
It is. That's right. We're not trying to elucidate a remedy for the discoverer. We are opening, even though that's too new agey. Open your heart. I won't. I won't. I won't. I won't. I can't.
You know what? Nourishing quiescence.
Yes.
It's like, to me, if I have actually experienced dropping away from this story of me, that's a good description of what it's, the feeling tone you were talking about, right?
Yes. Yes.
So And some of these things, like I was, and then I, come back into the head again.
Of course.
And all I can do is say, well, I've experienced these moments like where I don't know. But anyway, so I'm just going to babble on.
Okay.
And say that a lot of these, like, the Buddhist teachings.
Yeah.
I kind of like feel like they were on to something. There's something about that.
They might have been.
state,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like they were on to something. And that whole, like, just laughing hysterically because you're just like,
Cue Buddhist
Cue-
sheet laughter.
cue the stupidity, like it's just, there's nothing to be, whatever, and
Yeah.
so all these things sort of like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I seem to indicate that there's some, and the idea of, who was saying, an openness and love, because in that quiescence state, in that nourishing quiescence
Yes.
kind of state,
Yes.
whatever.
In your nourishing
In my
quiescence.
no, not always. Sometimes I don't seem to have,
Well, sometimes in your nourishing quiescence.
but there's kind of like, it is sort of like a love state, so that's kind of like the new agey, button,
Love's cool.
because you've dropped out of any agenda, you've dropped out of an agenda.
That's right. Without a discoverer, it's hard to have a pocket for an agenda.
Yeah, so that's sort of like a love state there, or something.
Why not?
Described as that new
Yes.
agey kind of like love state.
Yes. As long as it's new
But the
age.
minute I mean, of course, this is all coming from me.
We know that.
Yeah, right,
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm trying to,
What are you trying to do?
I don't know. what I'm
I
trying
don't
to
know. Okay, good.
do. But I was saying that, again, I'm looking for an affirmation.
Oh, uh-oh.
Damn it.
You see, yeah, the discoverer.
Here's where I have, my
Yeah.
default thing is, it's like God, Ma,
Uh-huh.
and I have a picture of what this, like, this Indian woman that looks
I
like
must be
Right.
validated.
Yeah,
Sign
it's
off.
like, help. I hate my personality. I mean, my
Right.
personality is, I don't completely hate it, but it's getting on my nerves.
We like it.
And it's really getting on my nerves because I'm in the same old thing, doing the same old thing, and the
Yes.
same old thing.
Right.
And I'm getting a little sick of that.
Yeah.
I don't dislike all of it. I dislike some of it.
Uh-oh.
And
Until it's all.
I
Just kidding.
recognize that I am fearful to let it go.
Huh?
There's a part of me that's like afraid, I've said before that I'm going to sort of find myself living a bag lady, or living under a, I don't know, just, or Alzheimer's or something, or some, whatever.
Yes.
Well, that's why you were so freaked out and you couldn't remember about the Indian people, right?
Yeah, that's why I was a
Because you
little, I'm
thought
like,
you're losing
okay,
your whole memory. and
I'm fooling
mind.
myself. I really have, there's something really like medically wrong. Do you know what I mean? Whether that be dissociative wacko disorder or Alzheimer's,
Yeah.
But then I was like, well,
That's just
maybe I'm
another
really
word
onto
for
something
Alzheimer's.
here, and I'm dropping
And
Associative
also
wacko
keep Christ in
disorder.
Christmas.
Keep Christ in Christmas.
out.
That's right.
Yeah, and I get that.
Alzheimer's.
Keep
So you'll
Christ-
notice once again how you launch into a beautiful tapestry of association, and it brings you pretty much nowhere.
I know that. I know that. Believe it or not, I do know that.
I know, I realize that.
But
It's making me want to uncontrollably eat cookies. So
Yeah.
It's her fault.
Someone's
It's
telling
her
a story, I'm gonna
glad
eat a cookie.
I'm glad I'm having a good effect on you there, cookie.
So it's simpler, it's way simpler than we perhaps let ourselves enjoy.
Yeah, right.
It's much simpler.
Well, that quiescence thing.
Yes. So
Quiescence thing.
present experience is upon us. It's too late to do anything about it. You can't wiggle free from what we refer to as presence or present experience.
I want to control my mind. That's it. Okay, mind, stop. Now I'm in quiescence. Boom.
Who are you to control your mind?
Right?
Yeah. Well, in order to control any symptom that appears in consciousness, you condemn yourself to being the controller, which is just another way of saying discoverer. Well, you see, you've purchased a ticket to separative existence, and now you want to control.
Control the world.
Yeah. So, best of luck. You're making great progress.
We
But
affirm
it's-
that. We all affirm that.
And again, we will reaffirm or reinforce.
I really want you to affirm that I don't have Alzheimer's.
I'm not a doctor.
Okay.
I always feel like I have Alzheimer's too. That's my comfort.
Yeah, but yeah.
It's much simpler.
I always think that Leo, Louis C.K. bit where he talks about like some friend of his.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Like was all freaked out because he thought he met some woman. He thought he was having sex with a woman, but turns out they were like a transgender person with like a penis. And he says the person was like really freaked out and really messed him up. And he's like, and then I realized like that had happened to me years ago and I forgot about it. Like that's the way it is now. I mean, you know, like, oh, did that happen? I forget, you know.
I mean, I think you just get a little more casual about getting the rug pulled out from under you, you know? You just, shit happens, you know?
Hopefully I won't.
Well, we're playing around with the quality of direct encounter with your own sublimity so that you can
Scary.
somehow relax from how to, right? And relax from what the fuck are you talking about? So rather than express some kind of beatitude or gratitude for my so-called enlightenment, which is just total bullshit, the gift of feeling this is, right, autonomous. Yeah. Before you snap into view as the discoverer, you might notice something about present experience which releases you from that fate. That yoga is punctuated by simplicity. Let's call it a sufficient quality of comfort, psychic comfort, as well as physical or somatic comfort, so that you can rest or sink into this. Sinking in. Simplicity, right? Nothing to solve, nothing to resolve from the past or the future. Sinking in. You're not trying to remedy the imposition or the implication of the discoverer. You're actually having a direct, cogent encounter with the absence of the discoverer, free from the implication of the discoverer. You needn't remember anything about it so that you can report on it later as having had some kind of spiritual experience, which is absurd.
You know, I always wondered how people, there's a dream group at Running Friends. And these
Yes,
people will rouse themselves out of whatever beautiful, aimless reverie they have,
yes,
or from a deeper dream state, and force themselves away and write down the dream.
yes.
It's like,
I've
that's
done that.
condemning. Well, yeah, of course you have.
It's torturous, you're right.
Yeah, I mean,
How
who
long
wants
to
to
get up
do
and write
that?
out a dream in the middle of the night again?
Jeez.
Thanks for sharing.
I just, it was bugging. I had to express it.
Okay.
Well, you were just trying to sort of speak to the sort of trying to tell a story, come back from someplace.
Yeah, you know, I certainly have those,
You don't have shit.
You have to
Oh, I
stitch
have
it all
shit.
together.
oh, I have shit.
You see how easy it is to place yourself in the role or accusation of being,
It's as easy as pie.
it's as easy as pie. Yes. Yes. As your intelligence, capacity, sensitivity, call it wisdom, gets a bead on the genesis of self, the manufacturing process of self. You can play with a way of sinking in or resting in your present experience and take your hard hat off, clock out. This is not a repression or a suppression, or it has no pressure at all. Experiencing is already transcendent for the taking. It's already transcendent for the asking. That's the discovery. You'll never get to some transcendent corridor or destination as the discoverer. You can have your socks blown off through circumstances, events, and pharmacological, right, experimentation. That for sure is so. But we're taking a bolder approach than even Terence McKenna dared to take, which is this present, irrational, transcendent beatitude with no intervention, no intermediary. No matter how someone else may feel it, doesn't do you any good. Because the only encounter you can have is inside of yourself. The unbinding is yours alone. That's why I think it's kind of nice not to trumpet all kinds of things about oneself or about reality being this, that, or the other thing, because it's of no use to anyone except as a vehicle of some kind of envy or frustration.
We'll go on though.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's not going to stop anytime soon. I'm
No,
sure.
no, not likely. It's not a hypnosis. There's no hidden message, subliminal message.
It's not like thinking you're a chicken.
It's not like thinking you're a chicken, but you might leave the room going like this. We'll see what happens. Yeah. It's not a hypnosis.
I can imagine that it could be characterized as a denial, but it seems to me it's like good kind of denial.
Well, again, your feeling tone, right, is what you rely upon to let you know whether this is a direction worth traveling or not.
Right.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. The discoverer loves or feeds upon quarrel so that it can continue to enjoy the suffering that accompanies temporal consciousness, object-oriented consciousness.
And coral is very beautiful.
Hmm?
Coral is very beautiful. It's quite attractive.
Earth spins. There's enough of it happening to keep that Earth spinning with a mighty roar.
Oh, coral. I thought you said coral for a second. I was like, do we change?
Coral, quarrel, they're the
What
same.
Coral.
No, yeah. Talking about forgetting already.
You want to eat it, you're going to consume it. It's going to be kind of sharp, probably. That's the way I'm taking it.
I don't know how it's intended, so you're free to take it any way you
What the hell,
want.
yeah. Guess you're talking about.
That's what
No,
I'm
he
gonna
said.
do.
That's what I'm gonna
quarrel.
do.
I didn't say quarrel.
No, he said whatever. Yeah, but then
Whatever.
You
Well, I
said
like
something-
quarrel better.
You like coral reef?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So then I got confused and I thought, what?
Anything goes, man.
I mean, I can't even remember like the, few milliseconds of conversation.
You already have Alzheimer's.
I already have all of them.
We'll have to play the
Now you
tape
can
back.
move on.
Yeah,
That
somebody
worry.
else has it too.
Yeah, no, we all do. So you can move on from that little issue.
There's no point in asking the sage what their experience is. They're just going to lie to you anyway.
What else can they do?
What else?
I mean, it's about as
What else?
accurate as that conversation just was.
What else? Yeah, it'll be like quarrel or coral.
It all works.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Or doesn't
They
work.
just patronize you like my husband does, and I get upset about things.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'm really interested.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet he's the next one.
Yeah.
That was wrong. They shouldn't have
Yeah.
treated it that way.
Yeah. Honey, your reality sucks. I
can
get
imagine
that.
him doing that. Oh, he would be a pro.
Well,
Help me to discharge, God damn it. So we can, because we're not that bright or gifted, we can do we can just do this much, you see, to kind of play around with freedom from the implication of the discoverer. Establish a TCP/IP connection with the being. We appreciate that it's very easy to snap back into, right, the person, the lamentation of separative identity. Okay. But at least, and maybe it's saying something, by touching this to the best of our native ability, you participate in a conscious discontinuity. You're not going to force enlightenment to crawl up your ass or down your throat, but at least you can participate.
Worms. The worms.
Don't look at me. I prefer up the ass. Not down my throat. So I don't want to ask anyone else.
You're on record.
Don't talk to anybody.
I'm on record.
taping this. There's gotta be some room for this.
I'm just
What com-
kidding.
Hey,
That's what everyone says when they're when they like said something.
But
I'm
she-
just kidding.
But she's,
Yeah,
shaking,
yeah,
but
yeah.
she's shaking her head.
yeah.
She's in denial. She had me convinced I had a tapeworm.
I'm a sick perv. I'm just kidding.
You're saying that for the microphone.
I'm just kidding. Okay, so
Completely serious.
what were we talking about? What was
Like
growing up her ass or
Pink
down her
Floyd.
face?
The worms.
Yeah, let's
It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's,
Let's talk
You've
more
Not
about
down your
that.
throat.
Yeah. It can only last so long. I mean, that's the thing, and then we're all.
Well, in a group setting.
How many people are listening to this?
Oh,
Thousands.
tons. Yeah.
Then we're just back to junior high
How's it
again.
available?
To junior high kind of thing.
Thank you.
Were you saying enlightenment was not going to crawl up her ass or down her throat?
something like that, I think, yeah.
Well, yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm suggesting not to create, a high expectation for what you can do about anything.
The expectation isn't gonna lead, you know.
You're like, probably not gonna happen for you guys. No.
Forget about it.
Well,
I've gotten used to that kind of
quite
way of
quite the
being, so-
contrary, There are a lot of, Buddhist, Hindu, and other kinds of encounter and recovery groups that have no clue, have not broken the ice, have not entered into a conscious discontinuity of the implication of self.
Being busy practicing may be part of that.
Don't underestimate your selves.
So we are making progress.
Oh, God.
Can you tell us?
I was trying
Read our
not to
auras.
say it.
Yay!
Let's sing a Danny Kaye song.
Well, that one guy you sent you to hit whole range your energy or whatever. The one guy who was named
Oh,
DeReuter
oh yeah, John.
or
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
We'll probably do up the butt thing too.
he'll do the up the butt thing.
That's how
too,
he
yeah.
does it.
That's
how he reads
how he does
You're
it.
gonna get a lot
Yeah,
of
of
friend
course.
requests now.
Yeah.
In his case, he could maybe do down the throat too. That's it too.
He uses a
As a
mammalian
male, that could
thermometer.
work.
He uses a mammalian thermometer to read you. Uh-huh.
Put it in any hole. God. We just cut that part out.
Oh yeah.
Sure, I'm sure.
If you
Yeah,
could
I'll
just
reach-
put a voice over my voice that makes me sound like a
Yeah,
male or something.
scramble her
Yeah,
voice.
right.
Scramble her voice.
I do not like anal sex.
My name is not Francie.
I am not a sodomist.
Speaking of anal, did you guys see that movie, Sisters? There's a
No.
little bit of anal penetration scene in that movie.
No.
Thanks for sharing.
My mom really wants to go see it. I'll be sure to not do
It's
that
pretty-
now.
It's kind of
Make
funny.
sure you're high.
It's not sex, so.
Uh-huh.
So-
Gerbil.
No, it's like a
I'm
music, ballerina music
has
box.
Amy, or what's
Oh,
that?
Amy Schumer?
Sorry, we're
I'm
on.
sure.
A spinning ballerina?
It's a
Okay.
mishap. It's a mishap. You know, like
Someone
this-
sat down on a spinning ballerina music box?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that could be enlightenment up your ass. I don't know. I mean, that.
Did the music slow
Yeah,
down?
dude.
It's
Is there
funny.
music
I can't
playing?
remember.
Depends on how
It- I-
pliable the
It's kind
ballerina
of funny.
was.
It's kind of cliche funny, but it's funny.
Oh, that
Non-duality
could
and
prove you wrong. That could be enlightenment up the ass.
Non-duality discussions in 2016. Yeah. Hey man, you got to check out this guy's YouTube channel.
That was a
It
pretty,
goes places.
that was a pretty good video.
It's like, just like,
I
I'm
love
never gonna get a
That
following.
storm coming in.
Oh yes.
Oh.
Everybody's on the beach laughing, frolicking. Storms coming in, making the weirdest noises. Did you guys do
Oh,
that?
I saw that. Yeah, I did. I checked that out.
Oh,
That was cool.
amazing.
Where did you find that at?
Don't ask.
Oh gosh.
No, ask.
Oh, but who's the
No, ask.
what's the name of it?
No,
Don't
yes,
stop.
No, yes,
Don't
no.
stop.
Oh boy.
Don't stop.
What was it? Bizarre Pasta or no?
Lucille Pasta.
No, that was the name of the poster. The guy that
Oh, creepy pasta.
creepy pasta.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I'm like, is there some sort
And the
of like
next one, I watched the
pasta-
next video
pasta
after that.
monster?
I know I was supposed to be doing work,
Don't go to that website.
and
Don't go to
that was
creepy
a
pasta.
that was a pretty cool next video too.
I
Oh,
Where
see
they're
it. Oh,
taking
boy.
this image of a
years.
woman and yeah, well, you can listen. But I that was just amazing.
The storm thing was kind of cool.
We talk about disorienting, you know. That would be. Is this person you I maybe you were talking about her earlier, this person that you sent the notice out, maybe possibly contacting her.
Oh, yes.
Hopefully she won't listen to this.
There wasn't
She'll be like,
a,
oh my god, they
a
talked
link
about
on
sodomy
there,
for
was
like 2 minutes.
was there a link there?
No, it's
I
not.
thought I
I
had
was confused.
sent.
Maybe there was. I
Yeah.
probably-
I didn't see it.
Yeah, there was.
Like,
No,
they
there
go
was
to
a.
Stuck in that.
I Googled her after.
I
There
didn't
was
see
a
it.
link to her website,
Oh,
and
Oh,
from
yeah.
there you could go to her
Oh.
Facebook page.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you gotta go, or you could just click on YouTube. There's a little play and a
Oh, okay.
square with a play. That's
Oh,
YouTube.
okay, I missed that. All right. I mean, not.
You gotta know the symbols now. You know, the little blue F, the little square play button.
Oh, okay.
T for the little birds Twitter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. It's gotten weird.
I mean, it's always fun, but I think I haven't found anybody that's there's nobody special. out there.
Nobody special now.
We, despite our tendency to free associate with the plum,
Sleep outside.
we are also curiously capable of picking up the scent of irrational discontinuity. You can, by simply considering the way one's mind typically works, you can get a feel for its fractured nature, for the implications of the slightest hint, a homeopathic hint of separation, a homeopathic dose of individuation. You know what that feels like. By playing around the way that we do, if we're fortunate, lucky, you can also get a dose of discontinuity. Quality of simplicity. Not placing a demand on your present experience, and not requiring anything of it or from it. That's an approximation of the, what would you call it? The atmosphere of the sage, right? Where the myth of individuation is wiped clean. And so you find yourself getting little tastes of living with abandon. But it doesn't have to be demonstrative, right? Or cathartic in the so-called world. The abandon is just here, just now. Requiring nothing from consciousness or conscious contact. Phenomena does not define you into being as an entity. Because all of the disquietude of our soul is conscious contact implies entity. So it's kind of fun. Not nearly as much fun as bowling, I get that. But it's kind of fun to have an encounter.
Encounter with the non-human.
That's right.
Or the transhuman.
That's right. Yes. Bless you. And
I mean, I guess we could say that's possibly the basic energy of human. I don't know. But it's more than human.
yeah, more than and less than require a baseline from which to measure. And we're looking at a conditionless, right, engagement that has no baseline.
We can't put it in a box.
Yeah. Yeah. You could say it's prior to the genesis of being fractured as a creature, right? The fracturing or the duality that defines one's experience from the point of view of creature. But it's prior to all the time. So when did it exactly become prior to?
You know, maybe it's just the memory of being a baby. You know, sometimes we actually have a memory, even though maybe the memory is at that cusp where you realize, oh, there's thinking about this. And so then there is a contrast because thought came into it.
See, contrast is how the discoverer comes into being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a recognition that that came out of this. Even though you're
Well, it's,
becoming,
well, no, it's stranger than that because
that's pretty strange.
yes, yeah, stranger in that there's no actual genesis of anything. There's no conditioning. Not as the baby, not prior to the baby, not conception or prior to conception, not as the adult. There is no condition ever. Ever. There is no baseline that you can add to or subtract from. Really, as a sense of individuation completely relaxes. There is no genesis. Cue Asian sheet laughter.
So why do we make up conjure up the story?
Say again.
No, I'm not doing that.
Tell you what.
I think what landed me here
I only come in with sodomy.
is that
That's it.
of my like failures, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's probably a story that I tell myself because it's like, okay, oh wow, this has meaning. I'll try this for a while, but then it seems to be not working. And so then,
Yes.
you know, I put a lot of
Lucky for you, everything will fail.
That actually is lucky for you.
I'm starting to see that my failures have been my greatest successes.
Like,
Which
I look
seems
at
to be the
people that are
story of my
successful
life.
now, and I'm like, suckers.
Sucker.
They're like gloating about it on Facebook. I'm like,
Really?
You're
Sucker.
So then
screwed.
some very seeming mystical or dramatic or big coincidence occurs, right? And I want to attach a lot of meaning to it.
Mhm.
And then, you know, and in the moment, it seems like, oh, wow, that's a super coincidence. And then I put some distance and that distance, you know, then time passes seeming, well, you know, anyway, then it's over with. And it seems a lot less of a coincidence. And like, was, you know, it's not really as dramatic as I gave it that meaning, you know.
Mm.
But then I was wondering why my storyline is the way it is. Do you know what I mean?
Free will, of course.
But where the hell is it coming from? Is it coming from some bizarre firing of neurons that comes up with this sort of, you know, thing based on
Gary Weber would agree with that.
insane past and
He would be wrong, but he would
little
not agree with it.
pieces of information coming in and like in other words, maybe I'm thinking we can somehow make friends or extract meaning from the crazy mind.
Well, this goes back to she who must be in control. Yeah.
She who must be.
She who must be obeyed.
She who must be obeyed. Yeah, you see, by finding causality and then hoping that there's a practical use to the discover of some kind of causality is what's gotten all the scientists in such trouble.
So our sort of wandering imaginations are arbitrary, completely arbitrary.
Well, don't you think? I mean, here's your present experience, like as in you're alive right here, right now. This is where you're fucking living. For better or worse, we got you. You got us right here. This is it.
Right.
Where's everything that you thought about, fussed over, complained about, held at bay, ranted over prior to now?
I don't know. And you know what? I get real fucking pissed off thinking that I spent more than 1 minute on some of the things I think.
There you
that
go.
I spent
There you
more
go.
on, know
There
what I
you
mean?
go.
But yet, I still do it.
I hear you.
And that's,
Sister.
yeah.
Hallelujah.
You spend
Yeah.
1 minute on what?
Like when I think about all the time I spent,
Fussing and fighting.
fussing about, some person, place, or thing from my past, right?
Right.
Like I spent years
All of the wise
ruminating
control.
about some guy or person or situation or thing, and I'm like, why that
All of your
F
best efforts.
did I put 1 ounce of of energy into that?
It got you here. All of it brought you here.
Again with the failures.
Well, you can see the hysterical nature with which we live amounts to pretty much nothing at all.
And yet and yet I'm still doing it.
Okay, I hear you.
I mean, maybe not to the degree I was before, but
I would say to a far less degree.
okay. So,
But again, we're not looking at, psychiatric ease as a marker. Because psychiatric ease, while it's really nice, I'm not going to kick a gift horse in the mouth when it comes to psychiatric or emotional ease. I mean, hallelujah. But we're not relying on it as a marker. We can't rely on it as a marker for irrationality, right?
no, I mean, right.
For this to be as it is.
That's a
Because
different
I've gone
view.
down some, albeit maybe shorter, but I've gone down some, crazy roads in my mind.
We count on you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
was
Well,
that?
Somebody has to be the.
Vengeance and seduction scenario.
that's right.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Are we at
So-
the question segment of the
Yeah,
show?
finally we've gotten to Q&A. Those were my opening remarks.
Folks,
A little winded today, what can I say?
folks
Like
who have
Hunter Sugar
reported,
High. It's kind of bad.
folks who have reported on periods of time where they seem to have or not been engaged in the mind game have they you can't really, there's no way you can really verify that. You can't verify that, can you?
No,
Because somebody could say very convincingly, as you have said, I am in a state of bliss and blah, blah, blah.
yes.
And be completely full of shit.
What else could they be?
Well, they're speaking about it from the vantage point of the creature.
Yeah.
So you can never really know.
No,
And
Yeah.
that's a good thing,
probably yes.
because that takes religion out of it and spirituality.
That would be a good thing.
Yeah.
No, I mean, from my bias, sure.
Yeah, my bias too. There's no one up and shit.
Thank goodness. Everyone goes to maggots.
I've told my son I want him to light me on fire. I don't want to go to maggots.
Make sure to eat a lot of popcorn. What was that funny thing? Eat a bunch of
Corn
Pop-
chips.
No, eat a bunch of raw popcorn kernels before you go into the oven,
Oh.
so that
Well, actually, you can just do a giant enema of them.
Yeah, you could,
Oh, we're back to sodomy.
we're back to
Right.
sodomy. You could fill your anal cavity with popcorn, and when they start to fry you, you'll just,
In preparation.
Wouldn't that be a way to go out? That would be a cool way to go out.
If you wanna
So
freak out
happy
the,
about just
how is it
because I was so
possible that
mad
we
about my
mix
little
what we
sodomy
mix
segment, but
here?
now
I
This
know.
is-
I know.
Totally okay.
Mortem enema.
You should have to be 21 to.
How many people have tuned in and go,
It's
oh,
$20
this has to be the.
This can't be about realization. These people are just
Wrong channel.
freaking sodomists. I am not a sodomist. I am not interested in carnality.
You're pretty well behaved today. We were the ones who were acting out, so.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll see you next week.